Sidestepping real server issues and dumbing down PvP. Is Vengeance just the latest Project Blackbird for ZOS to waste our money on? Hey everyone, it's time for another negative Spopes video. I haven't really been paying that much attention to Vengeance, and I was actually originally going to scrap this video idea, because looking at the campaign information here, I thought Vengeance was only going to last another day. But apparently that 14 hours up there, which said 8 hours yesterday, where it says campaign ends, means absolutely nothing. And yes, this latest test of Vengeance is going to last until April 27th. So I thought I'd go ahead and get some community feedback and put together my ideas on Vengeance, why I think it's terrible, and also worrisome. So in this video, we're going to discuss Vengeance, its origins, why it's a bad idea overall, and why it might actually be dangerous to the future of Cyrodiil, why the real test might not be Vengeance itself, but testing players' patience with Vengeance in the hopes of simply getting rid of normal Cyrodiil and replacing it with Vengeance. Before we dive in, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, please like and hype this video, and consider supporting me by becoming a member, picking up some merch, or leaving a donation. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I do want to be clear right from the beginning, this is not just being salty and complaining for the sake of it. I really love ESO and I believe in the developers at ZOS, and I simply wanted to capture community sentiment and provide my own opinion in the hopes that some constructive criticism might help right the ship. Anyway, let's look into Vengeance, its origins, why it's a terrible idea, and why Vengeance, which started as a test, might end up becoming the end of Cyrodiil as we know it. Many may have now forgotten about this, but originally Vengeance was meant to be a test in the hopes of helping fix the stability issues and lag in Cyrodiil. It seems crazy to people like me who have just been trying to ignore Vengeance to the best of their ability, but apparently this has been around for over a year now. And at the beginning, the developers were very clear in saying that Vengeance was a test designed to gather data in the hopes of improving stability in Cyrodiil. Originally called Cyrodiil Champions, Vengeance was originally billed this way. The devs said that anything you see that's enabled or disabled during the test is purely for the sake of performance and getting calculations as low as possible on the server. So just to be clear, Vengeance was originally billed as a stress test for the servers designed to pinpoint and alleviate the server issues that have been causing lag and other stability problems in Cyrodiil really since the launch of the game. This was not meant to be a permanent thing. It was definitely not meant to replace normal Cyrodiil. It was only a test, or so they told us. The primary purpose of which was to gather data that would then be used to improve Cyrodiil overall. But as time has gone by, the language surrounding Vengeance has subtly changed. The devs are no longer calling Vengeance a test, but rather a campaign. And what we've heard from the developers in live streams and in the forums seems to point to the idea that Vengeance was never a test for Cyrodiil overall, but simply a test of Vengeance, to see if it would work. And now the narrative goes that since Vengeance has been tested, and it does seemingly work, it's now going to be permanent. Now, it took me a while to figure out why this subtle change in language is relevant. So what, I thought, if they add Vengeance as a permanent option? Some people like it, might as well keep it. But call me a tinfoil hat wearer, but all the signs are increasingly pointing to the possibility that the devs mean to phase out normal Cyrodiil and replace it with Vengeance. But before we get to all that conspiracy theorizing, let's provide some more background on Vengeance, what it is, and why the vast majority of the community seems to severely dislike it. At its core, Vengeance is a paradox. It's essentially a band-aid being used to counter for servers that are held together with duct tape and chewing gum. Apparently, the whole point of Vengeance is to figure out how to fix the servers for Cyrodiil, but Vengeance itself doesn't directly counteract these problems at all. It simply dumbs Cyrodiil down to both reduce server strain and I guess make it more accessible for casuals or new players. But I think what many members of the community have been thinking and will think upon hearing this is, why don't you just fix the servers? Instead of spending all this time making a watered down, dumbed down version of PvP, costing Lord knows how much money, diverting Lord knows how many hours of developer time into this project, why not invest that time into fixing the underlying server ecosystem that is causing problems in Cyrodiil already? So Vengeance is meant to fix Cyrodiil by not fixing Cyrodiil, but by staying within the lane of what the messed up servers constrain them to only be able to do. The general vibe we get from this is that the developers at ZOS have given up on fixing the underlying server issues that have caused stability problems in Cyrodiil for over a decade. Instead of doing the hard thing, they're doing the easy thing, even if players don't like it. This is the legacy ZOS approach to fixing problems, where they just take the lowest effort, path of least resistance approach to fixing problems, instead of investing the time and effort necessary to fix the problems at their source. Look at this, somebody has messaged me saying Vengeance is awful. I could not agree more, my friend. So what do I mean when I say that Vengeance is Cyrodiil but dumbed down? Well, instead of having your actual build, you can just choose between 4 basic loadouts that honestly look as simplistic as the loadouts from the original Battlefront from 2002. The whole idea of this is to put less strain on the servers by limiting the number of effects that are flying around, limiting the number of effects that actually have to be loaded onto the server at a given time. But this ruins the point of Cyrodiil for many players. PvP has its own endgame that sometimes you will spend tens or hundreds of hours grinding toward, making sure that you are as optimized as possible. Not everything in the game needs to be accessible to all players. But again, that's not the actual point of Vengeance. The real point of Vengeance is to cook up a version of Cyrodiil that will work with the servers as they are, bypassing the need to actually fix the servers. This idea of Vengeance being a dumbed down version of Cyrodiil is one of the most common refrains in response to this poll I conducted last night. I've shown this poll already, but the results are startling. More than 80% of players have a generally unfavorable view of Vengeance, with more than 42% saying they hate it. Only 14% say they like it, and only 5% of respondents say they actually love Vengeance. Like this guy here, he apparently loves it, but this commenter says that Vengeance is so dumbed down that it's boring. The fun of PvP is theory crafting, figuring out counters, and adjusting builds. Vengeance strips everything away to the lowest common denominator. It's like PvP kindergarten. This commenter says that Vengeance should not take over standard Cyrodiil. Well, I'm increasingly concerned, my friend, that's exactly what they're planning to do. To have Vengeance permanently take over normal Cyrodiil and get rid of Grey Host and all the other options. This person says they can't do healing. We'll get to my friend Levendiel's comment here in a little bit in another section. But this is the thread that I really feel like sums things up the best. Vengeance misses the whole point of what Cyrodiil is supposed to be. Not every part of the game needs to be easy or instantly accessible. PvE players have their own endgame, where they need proper builds, experience, and time, and Cyrodiil's the same. And here's the clincher. Just imagine if PvE worked like Vengeance. You walk into a trial and get forced into preset builds. No farming, no theory crafting, no optimization. All your effort and time you ever put into your character and build just doesn't matter anymore. Well, they're not going to do that with trials because trials don't have server stability issues, and that's the only reason we have Vengeance in the first place. Commenters tend to agree. PvP players have their own endgame. And I don't know if this is confirmed, but this commenter is saying there's only going to be Grey Host and Vengeance. They're getting rid of all the other options. Is that true, guys? Because that seems to confirm what I've been suspecting. And then eventually Grey Host will go away too. These are some of the problems and concerns about Vengeance I've uncovered so far. But don't worry, guys, we have a lot more to complain about. So first of all, what is up with the aesthetics of Vengeance? I understand seeing skies like this in Apocrypha, but what does this have to do with Cyrodiil? Many players I've heard from have said this is immersion breaking, makes it hard to see what's going on around you. And honestly, I feel like a big reason for this fog-like lighting is to reduce the draw distance of the landscape to further cut down on server strain. But let's face it, Vengeance is ugly. The design team did a terrible job here, basically just copy and pasting the sky from Apocrypha, which does look great in Apocrypha, and putting it in Cyrodiil for no discernible reason. And this is not something you can toggle on or off. And if, God forbid, Vengeance ends up replacing Grey Host, you'll be stuck with these aesthetics whenever you load into Cyrodiil. And speaking of being stuck with things when you load into Cyrodiil, let's get into one of my major personal complaints with Vengeance. So I got this new mount, right? And you know me, I like to match my character with my mount as closely as possible. But this brown dye, Brewer's Brown I think it is, doesn't quite hit properly. And so I was looking to brown dyes, and I was like, oh cool, here's one you get from Cyrodiil, just by exploring all the caves. Something I've obviously never really done. So I got all excited to go farm this dye, only to realize that Vengeance is literally the only option in Cyrodiil this week. No Grey Host, no nothing. Literally Vengeance or nothing. And like hell am I going to go into delves with these BS pre-made loadouts. I understand putting a handicap on yourself with the new challenge difficulty, for instance, but not even being able to select the skills you want to use? Being stuck with some pre-made loadout while you try to explore the area? Absolutely not. So this actively prevented me from doing the type of gameplay I wanted to do. It put a wall between me as a player and the objective I wanted to accomplish. It felt really bad, and it should never have happened. It's actually one of the main reasons that I decided to make this video. It's one of the main reasons I'm salty about Vengeance in general. I don't really think I'd care that much if it hadn't been for the fact that I wanted this dye, and I'm essentially disabled from being able to go get it until this stupid test that isn't even a test is over. And here's my buddy Levendiel's story with Vengeance. He wanted to get a Cyrodiil set for his new build, so he bought the random boxes And apparently because it's Vengeance, he couldn't even open the boxes in Cyrodiil. He had to go to Imperial City, realize that he had all the wrong pieces, then go back to Cyrodiil and buy more boxes and repeat. I mean, that is just so utterly and completely stupid. Players already semi-rightfully complain that Cyrodiil is difficult to access for PvE players. It's a beautiful and vast zone to explore, but it's already difficult to access for achievements, dies, etc. like I wanted, if you're not set up for PvP. But now ZOS is putting up even more barriers to simply experiencing Cyrodiil from a PvE or casual perspective. If Vengeance does become permanent, this situation will also become permanent. For a company so focused on accessibility, on play your way, ZOS is really not making it possible to play your way in Cyrodiil. And honestly, it's because they're lazy. It's because they don't want to face the big problem of fixing the underlying server issues, so they're putting out this half-assed half measure instead. Again, 5%. 5% of players love Vengeance. Less than 20% even like it. More than 80% do not like Vengeance. ZOS, why are you spending so much time and money on this if it isn't laziness? If it isn't just doing what's easy for you guys and screw the players, who cares what they think? How am I supposed to think anything else about this? Why would I think any differently? Until I receive a reasonable explanation as to why this isn't lazy, arrogant greed, that's just the assumption I'm gonna keep rolling with. In my mind, Vengeance is looking more and more like yet another Project Blackbird. Obviously, the parallels are not complete. Project Blackbird was a completely different game. Vengeance is part of ESO. But let me explain why I'm seeing these similarities. Why I feel like Vengeance is just the latest millstone around the neck of ZOS, dragging ESO under the waves. Well, just like Blackbird, Vengeance appears to be a foolish misdirection of effort and resources. Matt Fuhrer famously thought Blackbird would be the next best thing. It was his baby, the thing that he'd worked all his life to achieve. But now it's literally nothing. It's dead and it will never exist. Hundreds of millions of dollars went into it. Half the ZOS staff was working on it, all for nothing. In the same way, Vengeance is pulling resources away from what could be fixing the underlying server issues that are causing problems with Cyrodiil. It's pulling resources away from the new mid-sized form of PvP they've been working on for years. Vengeance is honestly probably the main reason that hasn't been released yet. It's pulling resources away from battlegrounds, from optimizing PvP sets and abilities. It's probably even pulling resources away from the class refreshes that are ongoing. Both PvP and the class reworks fall under the heading of combat changes. And just like Blackbird, this seems to be another instance of we're just going to do what we want at ZOS and who cares what the players think. I can't remember who it was, but a prominent ESO content creator quit ESO years ago because they saw how Blackbird was diverting resources. I know a lot of PvP players simply aren't playing Vengeance, even though it's the only Cyrodiil option available right now. Just like Blackbird, Vengeance is alienating players, giving content creators like me something to complain about. It just seems to be another fool's errand, another wild goose chase. I think the last major parallel for me, that you guys may have more to share in the comments, is how in the same way that developing Blackbird didn't do anything to fix ESO, Vengeance isn't actually doing anything to fix Cyrodiil. And if anything, it's the first step towards sunsetting Cyrodiil as we know it, and replacing it entirely with Vengeance. The whole idea for this video started with me just being annoyed at not being able to get a die. At that point, I didn't have any inkling, any inclination toward the idea that the devs might be setting Vengeance up as a replacement of Grey Host and the rest of Cyrodiil. But as I was doing the research for the video, I became increasingly convinced, increasingly disturbed that this might actually be the case. Remember that Vengeance originally began as a test designed to fix Cyrodiil, and then remember how ZOS has been gradually phasing that language out and referring to Vengeance as just a new normal version of the campaigns. There's no more talk that I can see of using Vengeance as a test to fix Cyrodiil overall. Instead, everything I'm seeing points to the idea that Vengeance is simply a new form of Cyrodiil that fits within the server constraints that they've just decided to stop trying to fix. For me, this all leads to one inevitable and distressing conclusion. If Vengeance works, meaning there's no lag, no disconnects, and if Grey Host doesn't, why would you keep both? If they're not going to fix the server issues that make Grey Host unplayable sometimes, and they're just going to keep the servers the way they are, why would they keep Grey Host and Vengeance together? Why not just have Vengeance? I can see this being a very alluring proposition to ZOS. They've been lambasted for over a decade about stability issues in Cyrodiil. I get that it's not just as easy as waving a magic wand and fixing it, but for years they were at least putting forward the pretense that they were fixing it. That famous episode where Rich Lambert's wife was a total toxic troll to PvP players live on stream was all based around the idea that people were complaining about PvP, and she was saying, they're fixing it, they're fixing it. Shut up. But that was like 5 years ago, and it hasn't been fixed. They don't seem to have any more interest in fixing it, and it does seem like the devs at ZOS are simply planning to eventually replace normal Cyrodiil with Vengeance, marking the end of Cyrodiil as we know it, making it impossible for casual and PvE players to go explore it, ruining the Cyrodiil experience for many hardcore PvP players, dumbing it down, making it appealing to absolutely no one. So thank you all for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you think about my ideas here, whether you think I hit the nail on the head or I'm wide off the mark. Let me know what you think about Vengeance, whether you love it or hate it, whether you think I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist for believing what I do about the possibility of Vengeance being meant to replace normal Cyrodiil. I really appreciate your support, guys. You can support me very easily by making sure you subscribe to the channel and by liking and hyping this video. And you can take things a step further by becoming a member, picking up some merch, or leaving a donation. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you think in the comments. And before we finish up the video, I'm going to end as always with a prayer to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Lord, thank you for the Elder Scrolls Online and what an amazing game it is in so many ways. Lord, I ask that you bless ESO, even if that means inspiring major changes in the way the studio operates, its priorities, the people who are in charge. Lord, I ask that you bless everyone in leadership. And Lord, I thank you for my community. I ask you to bless everyone in my community. For those who are walking with Jesus, make their walk easier. And for all those recently departed souls around the world, guide them to your side. Lord, I give you all glory for the video and the channel. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Again, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Before you go, please don't forget to like, hype, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, turn on notifications, because I'll be back soon with new content.